The sun flooded the room of the hospital like a warm blanket on a cold day. Josh slowly woke up, feeling lost and disoriented.
Where am I?
You are in Dreadford's General Hospital, sir. You suffered an accident while hiking.
A feminine voice answered promptly. Josh turned toward the voice and saw a nurse standing beside his bed. She checked his temperature with a soft touch to his forehead using the back of her hand.
Accident?
Yes. You were very lucky. 2 other hikers found you and called for the park ranger's assistance. You could have died of hypothermia up in the mountains if it was not for them.
Josh's memories surged back, a chilling flash of red gleaming eyes piercing through the darkness.
It was no accident. I was being chased by some animal?
Bigfoot, maybe? It might have been hallucinations from hypothermia. I know they can look and sound very real, but you are safe now.
But it bit me in the...
Josh stopped mid-sentence in complete disbelief. He raised his arm, but it was unscathed, not a scratch. The nurse smiled.
Don't worry, just rest for now. The doctor will check up on you in a minute, but by the looks of it, you will get to go home very soon.
Josh scratched his head and glanced around the impeccably tidy room. As he checked for his wounds, each touch triggered a vivid flashback of the chase, the terror of being hunted, of being mere prey to some unflinching predator. Yet, to his astonishment, there were no bruises, no pain, nothing. He was completely healed as if nothing had really happened. Confusion seized his thoughts. Maybe the nurse was right. Perhaps he had just drunk too much and fallen. That afternoon, after being discharged by the doctor, Josh went to the coffee shop where he worked, the Foxhole. The rich, earthy aroma of coffee beans immediately invaded his nostrils. But now the scents were sharper and more vibrant. He could distinctly identify each type: Colombian roast, Arabic roast, macadamia flavored. It felt odd, but perhaps his brush with death had sharpened his senses. He made his way to the counter and found Roxy.
Hey there, stranger. Shouldn't you be working today?
Hey, Roxy. Yeah, about that. I had an accident in the mountains while hiking. I was just discharged from the hospital. I'm really sorry. I'll make it up to you.
For real? Are you okay?
I'm fine. They just held me for observation, but I'm okay.
That's good. But I already rearranged the whole schedule for the week because of your absence, Josh. I'm sorry, but I had to cut your hours.
That hurt more than the accident.
It was an emergency, Roxy. It won't happen again, I promise.
She looked at him with a twinkle in her eye.
You're lucky, handsome, because you know the owner and never took a sick day. Otherwise, I would have to fire you.
Come on, you would never have the courage.
Oh, I would. You don't get into the coffee business to make friends.
Yeah, I know. It's a very cutthroat business. Be careful.
She laughed.
Okay, mister. You take the rest of the day off and settle your business. You come in tomorrow at 5 a.m., first shift.
You gonna make me open?
Oh, yes, and I'll take the day off. Consider yourself lucky.
All right.
Josh, one more thing. Carla came here looking for you, said you stood her up on a date. I suggest you find a way to make it up to her as well.
I'll figure something out.
Josh made his way to the Dreadford Chronicle, the city newspaper, where Carla worked as a journalist. In the lobby, he approached the attendant and asked to speak with her. The woman made a call and asked him to wait in the lounge area. Moments later, he saw Carla coming out of the elevator. He rushed over, his expression filled with remorse.
Carla, I'm really sorry to standing you up.
Don't worry, I know what happened. I'm just glad you are okay.
She hugged him.
How do you know?
I would not be a very good journalist if I didn't, right? I received a notice about the park ranger's rescue, so I went to Dreadford's General to cover it, and lo and behold, it's you. We had an awfully good first date. You are a very good listener, but very quiet.
They chuckled.
I'm really sorry. I'll make it up to you.
You better. I am not one to be stood up on a date and handle second chances.
Dinner and a movie?
Sure, I get off work at 5.
It's a date.
It is.
He left the building and made his way back to his apartment. As he climbed the stairs and turned into the corridor, he bumped into Mr. Laszlo, the landlord.
Josh! I wanted to speak with you. You disappeared and the rent is due. When are you paying me my money?
Sorry, Mr. Laszlo. I lost a few hours this week at the coffee shop, but I am sure I can give you the money by Friday. How does that sound?
Sounds late. You better have my money by Friday, or I'm gonna dump your stuff in the street and kick you out of here.
Deal, sir. Deal. I'll have the rent by Friday, thanks.
He left for his apartment, under the suspicious gaze of Mr. Laszlo. The place was a mess, but he did not bother, and went straight to bed. Exhaustion weighed heavily on him, his muscles aching as if they had been pushed beyond their limits after a long period of inactivity. As soon as he lay down, sleep overtook him, pulling him into a deep, immediate slumber. In his dreams, he found himself amid a haunting landscape. Wolves howled at the moon, their cries echoed through the night as they raced across moonlit fields. Red eyes glimmered ominously in the darkness. The cold winter wind stung his skin as the wolves circled him in the snow, spiraling his vision into a nightmare. He saw ghosts. Their mournful cries filled the air as they reached out with their decrepit hands pleading for help. When he recoiled in terror, the ghosts turned into dark wraiths, their faces contorted with frustration and howling in anger, offended by his refusal to help. He saw demons laughing and pointing, their scorn directed at him. He felt the heat of profane fire and malevolence suffocating his being. The demons and ghosts chased him. Josh felt a heavy and sluggish weight dragging him down. He stumbled and struggled to run, feeling very afraid. He looked at his feet. He was horrified when he realized they had transformed into a wolf's paws. He felt a shiver. He wanted to turn back, but he could not do it. Around him, the specters and demons were ever so close. He tried to scream, but only a howl escaped his lips. Suddenly, a towering silhouette appeared before him. A huge creature, a battle beast with both wolf and man features, standing 9 feet tall. Its gaze was piercing and judgmental. Josh whimpered and shuffled forward, only to be met with the beast's thunderous howl and a searing bite. The pain jolted him awake, his own howl cutting through the darkness of his room. His heart was racing and his vision did not see color, only shades of gray. He walked, and the sound of the nails of his paws followed him through the apartment. He went to a mirror and realized he had turned into a wolf. He felt trapped and overwhelmed. Josh began to walk in circles inside the apartment, barking in panic. In his head, he felt like he was still dreaming. He whimpered and darted to the door. But his paws, still in their wolf form, fumbled helplessly with the handle. He began to scratch the door in frustration, growling and barking, although not as loud as a dog. Mr. Laszlo was smoking a cigarette in his kitchen while drinking old and stale coffee when the piercing sound of frantic scratching and barking erupted from the corridor. His brow furrowed in irritation as he set down his coffee and stubbed out his cigarette. Annoyed, he stormed out of his apartment and followed the ruckus. It didn't take long for him to realize the noise was coming from Josh's apartment.
Josh, God damn it. How many times have I told you? You cannot have animals in the building.
He banged on the door, but there was no response, only the furious scratching of the animal.
This goddamn dog is going to ruin my door.
He finally gave up and, frustrated, took off his keychain filled with numerous keys and unlocked the door. To his surprise, when he swung it open, a huge wolf burst out running past him. His heart jumped and almost gave up at the sight of the huge animal charging downstairs in a primal urgency. On the street, Josh ran and ran, but soon he realized he was drawing attention thanks to his huge size. He veered into empty back alleys in an attempt to go on unnoticed. The confusion gnawed at him. Was he cursed? Dreaming? Would he ever go back to his human shape? What could he do to change his predicament? He stopped in an abandoned alley, where in a wall stood a cracked mirror. He looked at himself. His eyes were yellow and his fur was black with red locks that started on the top of his head, passed through his back, and went to the end of his tail. He laid on the floor looking at himself and whimpered.
"Cry won't help, kid."
He heard coming from beside him. He looked up and saw a grey, translucent form of an old man, wearing an old cowboy attire, hovering above the ground. He had a melancholic look in his eyes. Josh jumped up to his paws and took a couple of steps back.
Don't worry. I don't mean any harm.
What is going on with me? I turned into a wolf and now I am seeing ghosts.
You were cursed under the full moon, kid. And this is just the beginning.
You can understand me?
Of course. The dead can understand anyone.
What do you mean I was cursed?
You have been recruited to their war. Everything will change for you now. Your life will never be the same.
Whose war?
You will find out soon enough.
And with that, he disappeared.
Wait, can I turn back?
Eventually, you will learn.
A man came out of the back of a bar into the alley and saw the black and red wolf barking to the empty space. He quickly went back and decided to stop drinking for good.
Learn?
None of this felt real. It was too out of this world and it didn't make any sense. He noticed it was already night and he rushed to the restaurant where he and Carla were supposed to meet. Hidden in the shadows of an alley, he spotted her waiting at the front door. She checked her watch, her face a mix of hope and disappointment. Josh whimpered softly. After a while, she sighed and walked away. He followed her from a distance, slipping through alleys to avoid drawing attention. But every once in a while, someone would notice him and point him out. He rushed to keep her in sight. At times, he would lose her, but would catch her scent in the air and find his path again. Instead of going home, she went to the Dreadford Chronicle building. She hoped to immerse herself in work rather than wallow in disappointment over a pot of ice cream. The building was downtown, and to reach it faster, she decided to cut through an alley and save some time. The narrow passage was dark and empty. Only the sound of steam hissing in contrast with the cold air could be heard. She moved faster, looking in all directions to make sure she was safe. But when she turned forward, 3 men blocked her passage.
Hey, lady, you think I can borrow a couple of bucks?
She took a couple of steps back and bumped into a 4th man who had a sinister smile. Terrified, she didn't answer.
Don't be rude, he asked you a question.
I don't.
Don't lie.
If you won't lend us, I think we are just gonna have to take it. Right, boys?
The first one said, pulling out a switchblade, getting ever close to her.
You are a very pretty lady. It would be a shame if I had to carve your face just to make a few dollars.
The sharp edge of the knife slowly reached for her cheeks. She closed her eyes, tears striking her face as she tried to recoil from the blade. Suddenly, the arm holding the knife was bitten by a mass of black fur, sharp teeth gnawing until the blade dropped to the floor. The man's scream mingled with the guttural growls of the beast. It snarled and bit down harder, forcing the man to the ground until he collapsed, writhing in pain. The other men stood frozen in shock, unable to believe their eyes. A black wolf attacking in the heart of the city. As the wolf turned to them, snarling with fury, their paralysis broke. They scattered in all directions, fleeing for their lives as the wolf howled in triumph. Carla remained rooted to the spot, paralyzed like a deer in headlights, staring at the wild animal. The wolf, in turn, made a soft, encouraging sound, urging her to move. She cautiously edged along, her eyes never leaving those piercing yellow orbs that tracked her every step. Only when she reached the safety of the newspaper building did she dare to look away.
Help!
The man on the floor pleaded, but the wolf growled and snorted, leaving him behind. He felt pretty bad for not showing up for his date with Carla again, but knowing he had helped her in a dangerous situation offered some solace. Unable to go back to his apartment, he walked along the empty streets at night and eventually he reached Veterans Park. There, he curled up inside some bushes and fell into a dreamless sleep. When he awoke, he found himself naked. A homeless man, noticing his plight, offered him some clothes. Josh accepted gratefully, surprised by the unexpected kindness. Perhaps there was still some good left in Dreadford after all.
You're gonna die like that in the cold, man. Take it. You need more than me.